Thank you for joining us. I'm Caitlin. I'm part of TTA's communications firm. I'll be moderating today's webinar. This webinar is brought to you by the Transportation Alliance by way of a grant from Mass Development. A few housekeeping items before we get started. All participants are muted. If you would like to ask a question, you definitely have that option. You can send that message through the chat feature at the bottom of the menu bar. All of those messages will go directly to me and I will field the questions at the end for the Q&A. And then finally, this webinar is being recorded and that video will be uploaded and circulated at a later date. So let's kick off the webinar with our transportation consultants and TTA members, Melissa Jankowski and Michael Shabkie, who will teach you all about the non-emergency medical transportation industry, driver training and certification. It's a tongue twister. So I will share my screen and they will kick it off.
That was a mouthful. Well, thank you, Caitlin. That was great. Well, listen, thank you everybody for joining us. I'm very excited. Melissa and I are very excited about presenting a little bit of information about NEMTAC and what exactly is the Non-Emergency Medical Transportation Accreditation Commission. That is a mouthful. And what our critical mission is. Today, we're going to talk specifically about certification and why potentially, your staff and folks in Massachusetts, providers in Massachusetts, have an opportunity to become certified transport specialists and what that could mean to the operations. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and just dive into a little bit of history about NEMTAC. So, so we're going to start. We're going to dive right in and talk about, again, NEMTAC's important mission. And I think first and foremost, what NEMTAC is not is we're not a trade association. We don't represent any one stakeholder, and we're not, kind of beholden to any one particular group. We genuinely are a non-accredited. Throw me off. We are the accredited standard developer for the American National Standard Institute. We are, again, not a trade association. And what that allows us to do, because we are a neutral third-party accrediting body, it allows us to develop best practices, introduce standards, and really work with all stakeholders, in the industry in a very neutral kind of way. We were formed in 2018, and with that, we were established to do really something very simple, and that is to, create the industry's first standards for NEMT. And as we know, this industry is extraordinarily fragmented. We're going to look at some data here in a few minutes to talk about, NEMT has been seen as a commodity and not necessarily as a vital healthcare partner. And, that's our mission, is to, bring this industry into the healthcare continuum and not necessarily just being seen as a commodity. And with that, I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge and really talk about the Transportation Alliance and really their forward-leaning and innovative way that they have approached NEMT. As you know, they represent taxi, limos, livery providers. A lot of those providers and a lot of their members actually do NEMT work and have been doing it for decades probably. When they heard that NEMTAC was being formed, they immediately rolled up their sleeves, wanted to participate. Back in 2019, former President Terry O'Toole presented at the first NEMTAC conference about what the Transportation Alliance does and what they stand for, and it was extraordinarily well received. In this period of time since the first conference, our executive committees have gotten to know each other very well. There's actually some crossover between members. Some sit on our advisory boards, that's what we call them. Some sit on committees, which is what the TTA stands for. And with that, there has been some exciting initiatives, this being one of them. As we continue to mature the relationship and having the Transportation Alliance, again, understanding the importance of what NEMT is. It's important for the members and their non-members. It's just important for the industry to have that as a discussion point. So we are grateful for their support and the reason we're here today, and for the Massachusetts providers. We should all be grateful for the support, because we're going to talk about the free money, right? Grant money that is going to be allocated here in the next couple of weeks. And for an organizational overview, we have on the phone, and you just saw Melissa Jankowski. She's really the brains, the heart behind the association. She lives and breathes everything NEMTAC, and she is in charge of and provides leadership to an executive, to an advisory board group. We have 5 distinct advisory boards. As you can see on the screen, technology, accreditation, certification, compliance, and resource and conferences. And each one of those advisory boards consists of 15 folks from all aspects of the industry. It's extraordinary. It's actually humbling for me personally that we have the participation that we do. So we have a disparate group of stakeholders that, again, represent all groups, whether it's technology companies, providers, broker representation, regulators sit on some of these advisory boards, helping us guide NEMTAC, each and every day. They give up hours every month to participate, and we appreciate that. Humbly, I didn't introduce myself necessarily, but last but not least, I am the founder of NEMTAC. I do sit on the board of directors, and our board of directors again will consist of and can up to 9 folks. Currently, we have 8 extraordinarily talented board members that have individual expertise that really help shape the overall goals and missions of NEMTAC. So I'm proud to serve alongside them. Humbly, I started this this idea in 2018, and it has just taken on a life of its own. I couldn't be more thrilled with the direction that the organization is going, and really the positive impact that we're making on the industry. So that. And like I said, a little bit of data for those that you may or may not know. I use the word fragmented a lot. The industry is extraordinarily fragmented. The best guess and best data that we received, and this is even 2 years old, is there about approximately 17,000 companies out there that provide NEMT, and that does not include any of the TNCs, right? Uber, Lyft, any of the organizations coming up. This is truly, taxi operations, paratransit operations, NEMT operations. And the data that really sticks out the most for us is that 82% of this industry is 12 vehicles or less. So it really is one of the last, industries, bastions of industries that are truly mom and pop and, small business operators. And it's extraordinary. There's opportunities and there are challenges in that each and every day, I think, for the operators. But to know that you're not alone. 82% of this industry is 12 vehicles or less. With that being said, there's 400 million trips out there every year being performed by those 17,000 companies. And that's an extraordinary number to think about. 400 million trips. 120 million are about Medicaid. I know a lot of us think that Medicaid is the only originator of trips, or very large. They're about 25-30% of the trips out there that are available. The rest by far are private insurance, private pay, VAs, workers' comp, et cetera, keep going on and on. And a lot of that is what our series of webinars that we started along with the TTA back a month or 2 ago on how to pivot and how to take advantage of opportunities. A lot of that resides not just in the Medicaid sphere, but resides in this private pay. So $12 billion industry, I think it's a little more than that. Average cost of trip, as you can see, and we see that breakdown. Probably the most, and one other really key data point is type of trips or trip types that make up this industry. And you can see behavioral health, right? Dialysis. If you had asked me, a year or 2 ago, or what was the breakdown, I would have thought dialysis is probably the number one. It just feels like there's a lot of those trips out there, but behavioral health, social services, behavioral health, and I think even like school and school type of transports fit underneath that. So there's a good look at the market overview, and we're in the middle of each one of those industries and each one of those segments. So what are we doing? What does NEMTAC really do, and what's our kind of our mission and our statement? First and foremost, like I mentioned, not very eloquently earlier, but we are the American National Standard Institute standard developer, and that's an important designation. There's only one that is available for each segment inside of any type of industry. And as you know, or hopefully know, the American National Standard Institute is the standard developer for most of the government, most healthcare, military, engineering, all these different segments, fall under ANSI. And ANSI's got an incredible reach both nationally and internationally. So for us to be an accrediting body, it was important for us to be accredited, right? And we went through that we went through the process. I wouldn't say painful process. It wasn't that painful. We went through that process in 2018, and we were granted that designation 2 years ago, right? 2.5 years ago now. So with that, what that allows us to do is develop the programs that we are. First and foremost, one of the major initiatives and one of the pain points I think everybody on this call and everybody in the industry faces is credentialing. It's an enormous pain point for if you're a driver or operator, you're a company or a company owner, you're a broker, you're a regulator. The process of credentialing folks is a disaster. It's just a monstrosity, depending on the areas we live in. For an example, if we all lived in Virginia, every single county in Virginia has 6 brokers. Think about that, 6 brokers that if you as a company owner would have to credential 6 times over, multiple times probably every week if you have a large staff. So we're in the middle of that right now and developing a large credentialing program for hopefully the entire industry. We also are creating a data repository. We've had basically 2 years, 18 months now of really integrated partnership type work with the tech companies, the owners, operators, the founders, and the chief technical officers of leading digital platforms for dispatching. We've been working to collaborate and coordinate. What would it look like if we shared data in a way, blind data, by the way, blind data to further this industry? Meaning, what is the average response time in the United States? What are the no-show rates? What are the cancellation rates? How can you benchmark your operation if you don't know kind of what to benchmark against? And as you all probably do understand and know, there's a lack of data. And for us to truly, us being an industry, to really be recognized inside of healthcare, healthcare is very data driven. So we have a very big initiative going on. We're excited about the process of the launch of it is imminent. I think as we close out 2021, 2022, we're going to start seeing some very good data sets coming out from that group. We had one in 2019. We skipped 2020 for all the reasons, all the COVID reasons, and we have our upcoming national conference. Again, one thing we recognized, there was no place for us to meet, to network, to learn best practices, to become educated as business owners. So NEMTAC took the reins and very narrowly focused on the owner operator. So this conference is, although there's bigger picture industry information that comes out, our intent for the national conference is to have the owners and operators and managers walk out of there with something useful, right? They walk out that day and they can implement it the next day in their operation for improvement, decrease expenses, increase revenue, et cetera. And implement the best practice. So it's set for September 26th to 28th here in Scottsdale, Arizona, and we're excited about where that's going to happen this year. We sold out very quickly our inaugural conference, and we expect it to do pretty well this year. So with that, and then digital magazine, very similar to the conference, NEMTAC. There's just having that information out there. We launched a quarterly digital magazine. It's free. NEMTdata.com. It's got great articles. We try to mix it up every issue, every edition to include management topics, fleet topics, compliance related topics, et cetera. Again, things that you can can read an article and go, oh, this is interesting, something I could use. And then finally, accrediting accrediting companies, right? We are very excited. Over the last year, we have just completed, just a month or so ago, our pilot program of accrediting really well-run, forward-leaning NEMT companies. And I'm excited to say we have a nationally accredited, NEMTAC, nationally accredited companies in Alabama, Georgia, and California. So the first 3 companies in the first 3 states. That process is open right now. We're going to be talking about it next month, I believe, in another webinar similar to this that is going to detail how to become accredited, or if you have questions related to it. But the process is open, and you can learn more on our website. And then finally, certification. That's kind of why we're here today. Is the National Certification Program, or the Certified Transport Specialist, is a way to elevate, distinguish, and promote your drivers. The staff that works hard every day. We've developed a curriculum. It's online-based curriculum that, upon completion, for the first time ever, it allows for a patch on the shoulder, and you can put the patch anywhere, but I always put the shoulder, patch on the shoulder that designates them and, you know, really shows to the community, your payers, your passengers that you transport every day, that you're doing something extra above and beyond. Ultimately, this is going to be a very, very important step as the payers start recognizing and we start maturing as an industry. I believe certification is going to be mandatory at some point. Not quite now, but at some point in the future. Thank you. And then implementing the American National Standards. You know, again, I talked a little bit earlier. You know, what does that mean? And you know, what does national standards mean? Because that could, if you're listening, it could be, oh my God, I have to do something that's not going to be funded, right? There's nothing that we're doing at NEMTAC. And there's nothing in my head or anybody else's head that we want to create any unfunded mandates. Your margins are way too low for that. I don't know how any of the providers do it each and every day. It's such a struggle to just keep the operation going that we're very, very sensitive to unfunded mandates, right? Things that just don't have any sources of revenue associated with it. And you just have to go, you know, we're not going to make every vehicle, you know, you're not going to have to paint them purple, right? To be an American National Standard. It's just not going to work that way. But what that is that we do want to raise the bar, right? We do want to take the opportunities that we have now, highlight the good work that you know, these 17,000 companies are doing, and then create some standards around it, whether it's education, whether it is accreditation, whether it's technology, et cetera. Those are all works. We haven't introduced any of them yet. I think we may be teed up to introduce our first ANSI standard towards the end of this year, fourth quarter. But we're there. Again, these aren't introduced in a vacuum. It really is it's peer driven, consensus driven, advisory board driven. A lot of folks have opinions and have their opportunity to talk about it. Next. And that's it. We talked again, just a real brief highlight on credentialing and what it means. The goal for credentialing for us is to be able to have one driver, one company, and even one broker be able to upload their information once and have a very robust way to be able to pull down, validate, and verify credentials without having to upload it multiple times. You know, right now, everyone probably on the phone, you know, you have to send your drivers to 1, 2, 3, or 4. In Massachusetts, you have the RTAs that, you know, serve as regional brokers for the transit authorities. But you also have payers and you have other programs that you have to submit things to. So our idea, the concept is to streamline that, and we're excited about where that is going here in the future. And National Data Repository, very similar to what I just said. It is literally the collaboration of everybody that has data, put it into basically a big pot, and then be able to take a look at that data and for the improvement of your operations. All of this is directly to improve the owner operator's ability to be educated and the ability to make smart decisions based on what else is out there. Because I think, you know, I've heard it a million times, you know, you can feel a little bit isolated, right? There's not a lot of support. There's not a lot of things to look at industry-wide or nationally to say, you know, benchmark yourself. Am I doing well? How is my operation running every day? What are my opportunities for improvement, et cetera? The repository is going to be very helpful with that. And that's it. I think at this moment, I'm going to turn it over to Melissa, who I think is going to be much more articulate than I am. And Melissa, go ahead and you have the call.
Thanks, Mike. So I'm going to go through a couple of things that Mike touched on a little bit briefly. And again, we're going to go over a little bit more in our next month's meeting. And then we're going to take a deep dive into the CTS training and how this all relates all back to you guys. So NEMTAC is the only national accreditation program. No other accreditation program exists out there for NEMT providers. And we designated the accreditation process in our accreditation advisory board to promote the quality of care in the NEMT industry. So we do this through an intense review of the NEMT organization and the implementation of industry best practices. So through our pilot process, as Mike discussed, we had the good fortune of accrediting organizations, and we now have organizations accredited in Alabama, California, and Georgia. We also have a couple more in the works. And as a matter of fact, the next organization that we are working on accrediting is based out of Massachusetts. So we're excited about that. And we do have a wait list because this is, organizations understand the importance of accreditation and really setting themselves apart. When we look at the accreditation, NEMTAC accreditation promotes best practices. And through the accreditation process, we're looking at an organization from the top to bottom, encompassing a wide range of areas as these 7 categories that are listed on the screen. And in this picture that I have here, you'll see an organization who was the first in the nation to have their entire operation go through the Certified Transport Specialist, the CTS training. And he saw the value in having his staff trained and wanted to show professionalism and his dedication to the community that he serves with CTS training. So he also knew that the training would set his organization apart from other NEMT providers in his area, which gave him a competitive advantage. He then followed it up by becoming a NEMTAC accredited company, which, as you can see, he's really proud of, and we're really proud of him as well, because he's the first organization in the US to achieve this dual achievement of all CTS trained staff and NEMTAC accreditation. So we ran with it and shared this information with the hospitals and nursing facilities that he served, and even created a banner, which we love. And we're like Mike said, we'll be presenting in greater detail about accreditation next month to you all, and look forward to doing that. But right now we're going to turn our attention to training. So the Certified Transport Specialist, you've heard us touch on NEMTAC Certified Transport Specialist training today in a couple areas, but when we go into more details, like Mike said, CTS is a 2-year national certification program that, once completed, demonstrates that the NEMT professional has the knowledge and professional skills necessary to provide effective care to the clients that they transport each day. In every industry, there are professional certifications that can be obtained to show a skill level, a professionalism, a dedication and commitment to the industry. And until we created CTS training, this just didn't exist for the NEMT industry. So our certification advisory board worked diligently for months to create the CTS curriculum with topics that are most important to the professional development of an NEMT driver. So the CTS curriculum is designed to meet or exceed national credentialing requirements. It is a 6-hour class that's online. It is comprised of 3 modules. So you'll see here the customer service, driver education, and life safety module. And within each one of those modules, we focus on different items. So the customer service module focuses on introducing the NEMT driver to the roles and responsibilities to working as a NEMT professional. The driver education module focuses on safety, safe driving techniques, injury prevention, and customer service. And the life safety module focuses on providing skills and the knowledge necessary to keep the NEMT professional and their passengers safe while providing transportation. These 3 modules make up this comprehensive certification training program that, like we said, is unlike anything that's available today because it is solely for the NEMT professional. There's no other industry that is discussed in this industry, in this training, besides NEMT. CTS program is a great foundation for the NEMT driver. And something that we're really excited about, when we launched CTS, we launched it in what's available today, and we're making some changes that will make it even more engaging for the individual taking the course. So we're going to have some nice voiceover coming soon. We're going to have just other pieces, even some videos that will just make the training more engaging. And we're going to add just a little bit more content that are things that you might see every day, such as ADA or service animals, things that you come in contact with as an NEMT provider. We also have another class that we haven't discussed at all yet. It's conflict resolution. And we were asked to develop a conflict resolution class for the NEMT provider. Again, a training that simply didn't exist. And as an NEMT professional, resolving conflict in a positive manner is a skill that can be developed and practiced. And knowing how to listen and deploy appropriate communication tactics is determinative of whether a conflict will have a positive or negative resolution. So being heard can be one of the most important goals of someone engaging in conflict, and a student who takes this course will develop listening skills, appropriate and strategic verbal and nonverbal communication skills, and how to assemble a conflict management plan likely to yield a positive result. So this is another course that is available through NEMTAC, and another certification that promotes professionalism and commitment and dedication to the NEMT industry. So what does all this mean for you all as Massachusetts providers? Thanks to the hard work and dedication of the Transportation Alliance, grant money has been secured for education for the NEMT providers. And this is just the most exciting part to me. So starting on May 1st, however, we'll have information available on April 30th. The TTA will open up the application process for scholarships for Massachusetts drivers. So what's fantastic is this scholarship covers 100% of the training. The scholarships are on a first come and first served basis. So you really don't want to delay, because I'm going to show you what your savings is going to be in a minute if you hop on this opportunity. The application will be available on the dedicated website, which is ridelocalma.com, and there will be information that will be sent out in the coming weeks. But if you haven't had an opportunity to go on to the website, ridelocalma.com, you're going to want to do that and get familiar with it, so that when the application is available on April 30th, you can download it and get working on that. If you're wondering if you should take advantage of this opportunity and start the training now, let me show you why you want to start it now. Normal CTS, Certified Transport Specialist training, is a list price of $89, but through the Massachusetts grant, recipient would receive that class for free. Likewise, conflict resolution, the list price is $25. Massachusetts recipients would receive this for free. So this is kind of a huge thing. If you're thinking about training your staff, doing it now when the Massachusetts grant funds are available is the perfect opportunity to do that, because I don't know about y'all, but free is kind of my thing. So now's the time to get your organization really set apart from other organizations with professional training for your NEMT drivers. And that's really going to give you not only the confidence in your staff who are providing service for your organization every day, but then also it's really going to set your organization apart in a competitive way, because there is nothing out there that you can say, our drivers are certified drivers by a nationally accredited organization that's a standards developer. That just doesn't exist. So that's something that you'd really, it's a nice accomplishment that you can share when you are working on gaining new business. So that's kind of it for the presentation. We went shorter only because we know that there are a lot of questions. And so we wanted to allow plenty of time to answer some of those questions. And so like we said, we're going to start taking, I know Caitlin has questions. If you guys already queued up for us, if you have any questions, please send those along in the chat box so that we can start answering a handful of those questions. One other thing I wanted to touch on, if you, Mike touched on it a little bit, but we do have our NEMT Today magazine. It's at nemttoday.com. Go in and subscribe to that, because we've got a new edition coming out next week. The TTA always provides great articles. We always have articles on there about education. And this edition is highlighting accreditation, and it's free. So we want everybody to subscribe because we want to get as much information out to NEMT providers as possible. So Caitlin, you want to start?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. That was such a great presentation. We definitely got some questions in before the presentation and during, so I just want to get through as many as we can. The first question is, what are the steps to becoming certified?
So it's actually really quite easy. So generally, if you weren't a mass recipient of the scholarship, you would simply go onto the NEMTAC website and you can click a button and you'd be able to start the class. It's that simple. If you are an organization that has multiple drivers and you wanted to have your whole staff trained, we do have enterprise solution pricing. So you could purchase seat licenses or a way to make that $89 price less expensive for you. So that's if you weren't going through this mass grant process, the scholarship. But since you guys have this opportunity, you're going to go on to the onto that Ride Local MA website. You're going to download the scholarship application. You're going to complete that scholarship application, and the scholarships will be given out as long as there is money available. So we really want to make sure that we don't leave a dollar on the table there. So you would then submit your application to the TTA. And once that is approved, then the TTA would send that over to our learning management platform, which is basically where our software, where our class is stored. And they'd enter you into the system and you get an email notification and off to the races you would go. So it's really that simple. And then just carving out the time to take the course. So it is 6 hours, but it is designed in a way that you have the ability to, if let's say you got pulled away, it will hold your place in where you are in that course. So you don't have to start over at the very beginning, because sometimes carving out that 6 hours can be difficult, but you could definitely do different modules at your leisure.
Great.
Oh, and just one add, May 1st. So applications will be available May 1st, right? So it's a go local MA, right? RideLocalMA.com, May 1st.
Yes.
Awesome. I just got a question from an operator. We will be applying to become nationally accredited through NEMTAC. Do we have to have all of our drivers certified also through NEMTAC?
No. Go for it, Mike.
No, that's a no.
Yeah, no. The short answer, yeah, the short answer is no. The only reason why we have that, we do have the on the self-assessment tool, we do have CTS as an option that it would be a checkbox. We do require in part of our accreditation that there is training that takes place with that organization. We want folks to have customer service training, cultural sensitivity training, HIPAA training, things that are included in CTS. So if you took the CTS class training, you would be able to mark off a bunch of boxes. So there is a benefit to having it, but it is not necessary because you can achieve that elsewhere. A lot of organizations in their orientation process will have their own in-house customer service training or cultural sensitivity training or other types of training that would qualify. We just ask that when they're going through the accreditation process, in their policies and procedures, it's clearly denoted. We have an orientation process that we teach X, Y, and Z, and define out what they're teaching so that we know that, for example, they've covered customer service.
Right.
That's just an easy one.
Gotcha. We have an in-house program that covers most of the topics. Can we apply for CTS Reciprocity?
Yeah, so yeah, I'll take, not quite yet. So it's coming. So like Melissa just talked to, and we don't want to confuse folks on accreditation. No, CTS and accreditation are untethered, right? They're separate from each other. As it relates to existing programs, whether it's from another association, whether it's from a state regulatory body that requires that type of training, we're working through that right now. So it's called Reciprocity, right? And we do have an advisory board, the certification advisory board that's taken that up. So we are developing that crosswalk. It says ultimately we are a neutral third-party developer for ANSI. That means all education is good to us, right? It's not NEMTAC education. It's not our product or our programs that necessarily need to be, sold and or be taken. We want a lot of programs out there to meet and or exceed national standards. So there will be soon enough, through the end of this year, probably the beginning of next year, a reciprocity program for, existing education. There'll be a crosswalk over what NEMTAC meet and exceed, and those programs will be recognized. And we're excited for that day, because that ultimately that's a tipping point for the industry, right? That we're recognizing a lot of good education.
Well, and another piece to that too, NEMTAC wasn't developed as a training organization. We were developed, the reason why we came to be was we're a standards developer, but we also knew that we couldn't create a standard of something that didn't exist. So we needed to create that, if we're going to have a standard of what training is, we can't create a standard of this is what the training should be for the industry, but it doesn't exist, so good luck. So we knew that we needed to at least create, this is what the foundation, this is what the standard is going to be. Now, hey, training programs, people that are out there that do other types of training, here's the bar, and teach to this bar, and you'll be able to receive that reciprocity. But we knew that we couldn't roll out a standard with something that didn't exist. That's why NEMTAC does have these trainings. But that was never our intention, was to go into training. We just want to make sure that these resources are available for the NEMT industry.
Small component of what we do. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
How long is this certification good for, and how do we renew our drivers?
So it's a 2-year certification. And so when you complete the course, you will receive a patch. It's just a 3-inch patch, and it was designed to go on kind of on your shoulder of your uniform. And the reason why we designed it that way, and this is a little bit more than what you just asked, but the reason why we designed that was because when we are just as lay people, if we walk into an organization or somebody comes to us, we'd like to see that somebody is identified. And when we see an identification, for example, if you were to call 911 and you receive, and then the EMT or paramedics come to your door, you see that they've got a patch on their shoulder, you see their name, you see these different entities, and you know what type of training they have. You know that they are qualified to be caring for you. Or if you even go and get your tires done, you see their, the training that they've accomplished. It's in every industry. So we wanted to create something for this industry that identifies the training that you've received. So you receive a patch on your shoulder so that when you go and take a passenger to or from an appointment, they'll see, they've actually had some training, or they'll ask about it and you can tell them the training that you've received. And so this training is good for 2 years. Once that 2 years is up, you would be notified within 90 days of the expiration of your training to do a recertification. And the recertification would consist, at this time, the recertification consists of repeating the class, but there are different elements. So there's different question bank. There are different elements from when we created the class 2 years ago. I'd said that we're adding a couple of new components, like we're adding service animals, we're adding ADA component, we're adding some sensitivity. So when somebody recertifies, they'll recertify on the latest and greatest material, because over the years, things will be tweaked a little bit and enhanced and improved. So that's the process, but it would still be an online course.
Okay. We just got one. Do hospitals and nursing homes, et cetera, know about this accreditation? And are you most likely able to use this accreditation to seek out jobs?
Yeah. So by the way,
that's a great question.
Yeah, really good question. The hard work for NEMTAC, right, is that adoption, is promoting what we're doing and having everybody recognize it. And we're excited about the wide adoption and wide recognition of that. There's a lot of anecdotes out there that it has become a market differentiator, that they have been able to, especially at the nursing home level. And that is exactly the right question, is on the healthcare side, on a facility-based side, walking in and saying, hey, I have a group of my staff is trained, and this is our training, much like you saw a slide that had listed all of those courses together, putting that into a marketing brochure and saying, this is what we train on in a very compelling way, it is going to get their attention. It absolutely is going to get their attention. You know, and it's that collaboration between a provider, even our organization, and a healthcare facility that's going to make a difference. So the answer is yes. Is the brand you know, can you say American Heart and you know what American Heart is, Red Cross, what American, you know, Red Cross is? NEMTAC, not quite there yet, but that's what we do each and every day, is make sure that we have that recognition. And we're always working with you know, providers that want us to make phone calls or emails or to help, you know, kind of credential them into to opportunities. We're always happy to do that.
Great. And one thing I want to add on to what Mike said. So for the organizations that make the decision to have their entire staff go through certifications, such as Jim, who I talked about earlier, he had his entire staff. They purchased an enterprise solution. Their whole staff went through, and every single one of his drivers are certified transport specialists. We allow, when your organization has embraced certified transport specialists as a whole for your whole organization, we allow for the use of the certified transport specialist logo to be used on your website, on your marketing materials, as, you know, proud to say all of our this is our standard. Yeah, this is our standard. This is what we've trained to. We also have which we've given to an organization like Jim's, that is a marketing item that has the CTS training and the learning objectives on that in a marketing material document that he has now taken and gone to his skilled nursing facilities and his hospitals saying, hey, this is the standard. And since you haven't heard of CTS, let me show you what this is. This is an American National Standards Institute standard that's been created for the NEMT industry, and this is what it encompasses. Yeah. So it's really, we have some documentation, some marketing items that we can assist, you know, that we can give to you to use as you need to share what CTS training is, and it's been impressive to those skilled nursing facilities and medical facilities that have seen this. And they've, of course, embraced it as a fantastic professionalism and standard for the industry.
Market differentiator, right? Yep.
Great, for sure.
I just got this question. I'm often asked if we bill directly to Medicare and Medicaid. When we've looked into this in the past, in Massachusetts, I was told we need to be an ambulance company to bill directly.
Yeah. So that's a big question, right? So first of all, billing Medicaid in the state of Massachusetts, I believe it's a broker system through there's 5 or 6 regional transit authorities. And for you to be able to get that business, in fact, there's a really good website, I just put on it last night, to be able to get the business or be qualified to get the business for Medicaid, you have to work through a regional transit authority. Maybe we'll put that link up afterwards or as a resource if you're not familiar with it. Gives the credentialing criteria. But it's actually a pretty simple process, but you would not bill Medicaid directly. It would be through the RTA. The RTA gives you the trips. You perform the trips. They're the ones that would pay you, and then they bill Medicaid. If that makes sense, I don't want to. On Medicare, it's a little bit different. So Medicare right now doesn't really have NEMT as a benefit. If you're on Medicare right now, you don't get transportation. They don't pay for it. There are a few things that have just happened, like the Medicare just announced a month ago that they're paying for some COVID vaccine trips within that process. But at the moment, Medicare doesn't provide NEMT benefits or where you would bill them directly. So that's probably why somebody said it has to be an ambulance, right? They only pay for ambulance or air ambulance trips. And that's probably why you heard ambulance. So I think that's changing. I don't want to get too complicated on it, but right now, Medicaid does have a NEMT benefit. You can do those trips if you're in Massachusetts. You do have to work though through a regional transit authority to do that. And there's a great website. So it was actually for government. It was actually really very easy to navigate. I'm surprised. You know, that's always a nice thing to see.
Good news. Another great question that we got, what's the biggest misconception that operators have about NEMT, and how has that misconception hurt operators who have tried NEMT?
Well, you know, I think first and foremost, everybody, there's 2 things, and this is, you know what, this actually leans, almost everybody I've heard from, whether they've succeeded or not succeeded, is they just think that it's a cash cow. that you're just going to kind of walk in, get in a vehicle and just start making money. And it's not that simple, as everybody probably knows on the call and anybody that's been doing it. You know, the medical transportation is extraordinarily important, you know, and our mission is to everything you do each and every day is just as important as a physician, as the CEO of the hospital, as a nurse that provides care, because you getting that person, that passenger to dialysis is a life-saving event, right? It's not clinical. They have to get to those appointments. They have to go pick up their prescriptions. They have to get to their doctor's appointments. And I think the challenge that we have as an industry is half of this industry kind of feels like we're just on the transportation side, right? We're wheels. And I said commodity earlier, that we have 4 wheels. We're going to take somebody somewhere, we drop them off, and there's nothing to that. That's not the case anymore. And that is not what the payers are looking for. There's a tremendous amount of effort to bring NEMT as a really recognize them as a healthcare partner. And that is an exciting time for us. It really is, as painful as this operations are sometimes, and, you know, to make $1 or to make this low margin work, there are very, very positive times ahead of us for the industry. So I'm excited about that. So to me, that's number one. You know, there's a low barrier to entry. Anybody with a van can do it. That's not necessarily the case, and it absolutely will not be the case in the future.
Great. What's the biggest trick of the trade you've learned in your years of NEMT that will help me succeed in my NEMT business?
Yeah, go ahead, Melissa. Maybe I have one too.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a couple. I would say Mike and I have both had the fortune of really understanding this industry, the NEMT industry, because we have worked it personally ourselves. And I believe that where I found my most successes, and we kind of touched on this, was really the marketing and setting ourselves apart as a professional organization. And I've worked in hospital systems, and I will tell you that that the discharge planners, the case managers, they talk. And if there's an individual that shows up to pick up their passenger to take them to, or take them home, or even dialysis, whatever that might be, making sure that you are wearing logoed clothing so people recognize who you are when you're walking through the door, that you look professional, that you act professional. And I mean, I know that sounds like one of those items that it should go without saying, but the reality is there are a lot of organizations that don't operate that way, that might show up sloppy, that may not have that, you know, a look that actually says, I take my job really seriously. I am very proud of the organization I work for. I'm very proud to be taking your passenger, your patient that you're discharging home to their home. That's really important to me. And if you show that in your appearance, in your keeping your vehicles clean, making sure yourself, you know, that you're clean, that's a key piece. But then also a really big part is the marketing. Actually, feet on the street, going into the facilities and saying, hey, we're out here. We are a professional organization. We are a trained, certified organization. We have, and really promoting who your organization is. It's literally taking a day and hitting every single sniff in the area. Here's a promotional item on who we are. We would love to do business with you. Here is, hey, dialysis folks, here's who we are. We would love to take to and from your facility, and making it easy for the facilities to reach you. If they have an issue, hey, we have this issue, can you help us? And just being responsive. So those are things that I really believe set an organization apart in this NEMT transportation industry. And it also takes it away from what Mike said previously, is it's adding that personal touch or that professionalism to that takes it away from just being simply a commodity. There is a personal touch. There is an interaction in that professionalism.
Yeah, you know, that's funny because we didn't collaborate or coordinate that question, but you know, for me, a tip and tricks, it's very similar. It's I highly encourage providers to join the local healthcare committees. And every state, every region has them, and nobody participates from the NEMT sector. And for a good example is, Yeah, I'm in Arizona, right? So there's the Arizona HHCA, Arizona Healthcare Association.
Yep.
Right? HCA, Arizona Healthcare Association. They meet once a month and they talk about facility-based, issues and just being involved in that group was tremendous for me personally, for our organization, for the
Yes.
Because we didn't have any competitors in there. So I sat in there and listened to really, really boring topics, things I didn't even understand early on. It was very facility based. But you know what? The breaks happen and you start shaking hands, and the breaks happen, they start seeing your thing. And then I got on a little subcommittee, and that just ends up being, and it's hard to do when you're an owner operator and you're trying to just make your day and possibly be driving the vehicle yourself, to think that way, be that strategic. But I would absolutely encourage everybody to look in their little communities, in the cities that they work in, the suburbs that they're in, and seek out those 1 or 2 organizations that have a lot of decision makers in it and participate. And it doesn't mean money. You can throw money at it. It means participation.
One other thing to tag onto that too, when you are involved with those types of groups, they have a lot of community outreach events that take place. If you show up to an event and you have your vehicle at an event that is a community outreach, it's going to spur questions. It's going to spur conversations. Additionally, when they have, if you like, again, going back to Mike's example of the healthcare associations, they skilled nursing facilities or any type of retirement community, they have events all the time for their residents. So participating in a, like Mike gave this example years ago, like a home for the holidays, it's not that time that,
I was Santa Claus for years. I'd come into facilities. Yeah.
But providing transportation or becoming involved with helping that facility facilitate transportation for their residents in a meaningful way is, again, it's collaborating with that entity and saying, hey, I'm a partner and I want to work with you. And in the end, you're going to receive a bunch of business from that because you're a collaborative partner.
Great.
Whoever asked that question, I'm sure you didn't want that long of an answer, but hey, there's a lot of nuggets there. And you feel free to reach out to Mike or myself after if you have more questions. We're happy to go into more detail on that too.
Great. Well, those are all of the questions that I have compiled here. So do you guys have any lasting words of wisdom before we send all these folks on their merry way?
Those were great. Those were great questions. We always have a couple of ideas of some questions that might be asked, but I love that question and answer session because I think it spurred a lot of things that we didn't cover and hopefully nuggets that will help you as your NEMT organization. But we're just thankful to be here and help share with you and your organizations what training is available, and especially through this MASS grant. It's just a great opportunity to seize some money that can help professionalize your organization.
Yeah, that's it. And we're here for you. We're here for the providers. Yeah, that's ultimately, we use a lot of words, right? Standard developer, whatever that is. But what it really boils down to is we're here for the providers. And it's important to understand that we're a resource. We want to be a resource. We want to answer your questions. And, we're trying to develop things around that. So we appreciate the time. Thank for the venue and the opportunity to chat about NEMTAC.
Yeah.
And
yeah. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Great. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.